Good morning. We're back with my Saturday short stories. I have two, but before we get started, I just wanted to give you an update that I will have my book review of Lawrence Block's Tanner's 12 Swingers, an Evan Tanner mystery, up later this evening. You definitely don't want to miss that. And let's get started. So, two short stories this week. I read first one from the Oxford Book of American Short Stories. It is by Harriet Beecher Stowe, written in 1871. Probably my oldest short story yet and my least favorite. So this short story is called The Ghost in the Mill. It is the summary of this short story. You have Sam Lawson. He's sitting in his fireside in a cabin with family members, and they're in the New England area, Massachusetts area, and he's telling a story he recalls from his memory of a encounter he had at the mill. And it is all based around, the buildup is around this person named Jehiel Lamido. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but Jehiel was a man that was missing and thought murdered. And one night, Sam is on his way to the mill and he encounters a ghostly apparition. And that is the premise of the story. So what makes it good? It's not great, like I said. But if you think about this in the time period it was written, I think you understand why it's considered maybe a classic short story. It definitely is not my cup of tea, but it was a short 10-page short story, so it wasn't a lot of investment. And I did like the fact that I was reading something that was significantly, 150 years old. So that was definitely made me feel good about myself. But in terms of anything I disliked, the prose is a tad hard in places, especially the conversations, because Beecher Stowe is writing it in the time period, and so the words are very cut up, and that's the way they spoke, and so during that time period, and so the words are very, there's a lot of apostrophes, let's just say. And that's really it. There's not a lot to say here. I gave this short story a 3 out of 5. I think I'm being pretty generous. It just wasn't for me. It didn't have that effect that I come to like in short stories. But again, I definitely want to read more classic literature and writers and authors. And so I'm definitely glad I read it. And so the next one came from this collection, The Best American Mystery Stories by Carl Hiaasen, and I read the short story Rodney Valen's Second Life, and this was published in 2007. The story was published in 2006 in the Georgia Review. If you didn't know, the Georgia Review is a journal newspaper company that is a part of the Georgia University. Actually, I didn't know that, but I kind of wanted to do some research on author, which is Kent Miles. And so I wanted to get a little more information about him, and he's a contributor there, and definitely someone that strikes my interest after reading this short story. So we're going to dive right into this one. So first and foremost, I really enjoyed this one. It was definitely a huge contrast from the previous entry. But this short story summary is around Rodney Valen, a man with a very difficult past, and he faces an opportunity to start over. He's haunted by past mistakes, and his kind of unfulfilled ambitions. In a bizarre kind of twist, and through his son Shane, he's able to kind of reinvent himself and start anew. And so that's kind of the premise, and I can't really say much more, and that's very vague. I get that, and I'm usually a little more descriptive, but I don't want to ruin this one because I think this one's definitely one you should check out. So what makes this a good story? It reminds me of backwater towns, kind of a Deliverance type feel to it. Very rural folks living on hard times. You get the story through the point of view and told kind of from the perspective of the sheriff, Greggy Longwell. I think the prose is absolutely hilarious, especially in some parts. I'm going to read you one. I'm going to have to add my own kind of bleeps in here because I don't know if it's Meyers' writing, but this particular short story, Meyers likes to use a lot of expletives. So check the date on that letter. First, Shane's writing more often. He ain't just waiting for his birthday thank you in July. Second, Rodney's been dead for 15 years. And look at him, by God, still making pies, and now he's also traveling around the town, raising horses, entertaining guests, adding to his bleeping house. He sure as bleep started to live the good life after he died, and every single letter's like that. Rodney rescuing people stranded in snowstorms. Rodney talking at public meetings. Rodney in one letter even learning to speak some bleeping Japanese. Bleeping, he couldn't hardly speak English when he was alive. Yeah, I was laughing out loud when I read some of this. I mean, it's that funny. And I really got that kind of small town sheriff just saying what he feels type vibe from the short story, which just made it more authentic in my opinion. I really enjoyed the structure that Meyers wrote this in. You have letters, which I referenced. It's a very unpredictable ending. The pacing was just excellent. I thought it was great. And I rated this one a 4.4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this one. I definitely will be on the lookout if I see anything from Meyers. He definitely strikes me as someone who writes very well. And so I think I would enjoy him. So, but that's the short stories for today. As always, I really enjoy these. I hope you are enjoying them too. And I hope you're having a great weekend. And I will talk to you all later. Thanks.
3, 2, 1.